Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, the official podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society. I'm your host, Todd McCarty, and tonight's episode 83, the Disney Institute. We'll be taking you back to that time when you could learn from a special chef or learn from maybe skateboard with Tony Hawk or do stocks with Warren Buffett. But we got a lot to talk about. Sitting in with me, as always, for this episode. Coming in, his background has not changed, but Mr. Hal Bowers, you still have the electric umbrella from our Remembering Rolly episode. I like that. You're still sitting up there, still serving burgers behind you.
Which is especially fascinating for people listening to the podcast because they can't see.
They can't see, but they have to imagine you in the electric umbrella.
Imagine that I'm in the electric umbrella and still enjoying one of these one of their delicious hamburgers.
I can almost see, if I look carefully, I can see the burger machine back there and the tomato slicer, the Broil Master.
Do you think they had a Broil Master 3000 there too? Probably.
They had to have. I mean, think about the volume. So
yeah.
Oh, and coming into Ohio after his recent drive back to and from Florida, Mr. JT Kuzier. How are you this evening, JT?
I'm good. We're recovered, back to normal.
Yeah.
I did have a first happen at the World. We were at the Kidani Village, Animal Kingdom. We went to go shake the sand out of a beach towel because we went to Cocoa Beach over there and forgot that my son's swimsuit was wrapped up in the towel. Ooh. There it went right into the zebra pit, just flying down there slow-mo.
No.
So if anybody sees a baby zebra with like a dolphin swim trunks on,
no, we got it.
You got it.
You call the front desk, and they've got a whole system in place, and they said they probably get 100 calls a day of people losing their stuff over the railing in the animal pit.
You're the reason we can't have nice things.
No, I know, right? No. It just they got it within minutes though, and then the girl did say, she goes, sometimes it's too late. We don't get it.
We don't know what that meant. It's gone. My son was riding Big Thunder Mountain once, and he got on with a hat, and 20 minutes later, we're like, "Where's your hat?" He's like, "Oh no!" So I happened to videotape the whole ride in selfie mode on a little handheld. This was back 15 years ago, before phones had the cameras.
You had a flip camera, didn't you?
Yeah. I had a flip camera. I had this other little sticky thing. It was like HD when it first came. Anyway, and sure enough, we've got the footage. He's on there, and we go over a curve, and whoop, there it went, right off. But Brian Miles has the ultimate hat story coming in from Philadelphia.
I was just gonna say,
I'm not. I know. I was gonna give you your due on this. He's sitting there. I knew what you were waiting for. But Brian Miles, welcome to the show.
Well, greetings and salutations. Sorry about my voice. The allergy season, the change of seasons here is brutal in the northeastern United States at the moment, with the pollen in the air and whatnot. But I couldn't. I was just actually trying to remember if it was my Matterhorn ride with you guys or with somebody else.
It was with us.
Apparently,
it was
with
Hal
you
and
guys. I, as most of you know, because I had my 40th birthday present was getting a little piece of basal cell carcinoma removed from my forehead, so I have my ever-present fedora when I'm out in the sun in the parks, and I went on the Matterhorn in Disneyland the weekend we were there to interview Rolly Crump, and somewhere along the way, as I thought I had it affixed pretty tightly to my head, it blew off, and I assumed that I had lost it, right?
Yep.
And
you
then,
thought we were like, it's gone. I remember pulling into the station, like, it's gone.
We pull into the station, and we climb out of the Matterhorn, and this guy that was about 4 seats back walks up and says, "Hey, buddy, is this your hat?" And he had caught it, like he did like a straight Ozzie Smith, catching this thing in midair and returning the hat to me. So
you're like Indiana Jones; it just reappears.
Absolutely,
it just rolls back into frame. Oh,
I'll have to look at the pictures to figure out which one of my hats it was and whether I still have it.
Yeah, I'll dig through the archive.
I also want the footage from Todd's flip camera of.
Okay, right. Let me find that. I'll get that to you tonight, JT, because I know where it is.
He wants you to restore it, though. He wants you.
Oh yeah, it's digital. It's all
720p, I think maybe.
You want me AI it up till 4K?
He wants it upscaled. And
all right, I'll upscale to 4K for you.
His flip cams look so good until you watch it back now.
Yeah, we'll see how good this one is. I'll find it for you though. All right, well, JT, what do we got in the mailbag this month?
We got a lot. We're going to jump around here a little bit. We've got some good stuff, some things shared with us, some things we'll put in the show notes and that. But first off is our friend Joey here. She wrote us, said, "Hey, gentlemen, hope you're doing well. I recently bought the pre-opening pictorial souvenir from Epcot Center on eBay. I think a lot of us have that. When she opened it, though, she got a little surprise. There was a letter given to an Epcot Center cast member where the pre-opening guide was given to them as a 10-year anniversary gift, signed by Dick Nunes and Judson Green."
Whoa.
So we have this letter. It's signed October 1st, 1992. I'll give you a quick little, it's a nice letter. We'll put it in the notes. But 10 years ago, we're taking the wraps off our newest wonder, Epcot Center. Perhaps no project in our history was so anticipated by people all around the world. They're, thanking them for their daily efforts, and they actually giving the guide as a unique piece of Disneyana, the commemorative book. So, being nice, giving a little gift there.
I know one of our listeners, and I'm not going to say because I don't remember which one of I'm thinking of 2 or 3 of my friends from Twitter. And how you might remember this, but one of our friends and followers who, attends our events bought one of those books on eBay, I think it was, or Amazon from a reseller or something, and it arrived, and the entire book was full of, like, Marty Sklar and John Hench and all of these people's autographs.
Wow.
It was Ian from Key West.
Oh, okay.
And there was some of the people from Exxon had signed it.
Wow.
It apparently belonged to an Exxon executive.
Yeah,
Exxon.
And it just was like there was like a dozen Imagineers in there. Like oh my goodness,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll share this out. I do think it's interesting though. In 1992 letterhead and that, it's not what it is today. There, at the top it's got a golden castle with Mickey. It says Walt Disney Attractions Incorporated. Mm-hmm. Then at the bottom we have a P.O. box, which is a very cool P.O. box. I wish I could lock this one down. P.O. Box 10,000.
Ooh.
And I like this little quote.
That was the classic P.O. box for Disney.
Was it?
Can you imagine going to the post office and having to find box 10,000?
Why don't you send a letter to it tomorrow, JT, just to see what happens?
And maybe I'll invite him to Retro Magic.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, call the AT&T number that goes to that guy's desk, too.
Yeah.
I think that's when they had a P.O. box, like, there was actually a Lake Buena Vista, like,
post
city
office,
address.
Yeah, that's what it says,
post
Lake
office,
Buena Vista.
which I believe is no longer.
And then the below that it says part of the magic of the Walt Disney Company. So nice little piece there you got, Joey. Thanks for sharing that. We'll definitely put it in our digital collection, like you said there. All right. This is more of a. We got a number of these messages, emails, comments on the last episode, which we did the episode 82 on commemorating Rolly Crump. We took our YouTube live and we made that episode 82. So if you caught that, I'm sure you did if you're listening to this. We'll put a link to the actual video because we had a lot of special guests, and I think we got a lot of positive feedback. People really enjoyed that, and we didn't really link that. We did, but we didn't. So another shout out about the Rolly episode. I think it was a good one, and lots of good stuff on that. Okay, Brett is next. Brett says, "Hey, Retro WDW crew. My name is Brett. In my mailbag response to the opening crew Epcot Norway t-shirt made it on the podcast and site. He hopes we're doing well. He wanted to share with us his site, which is basically chronicling Disney tags and date inaccuracies. He's got some digital shirts. It's a digital shirt museum. He's 1971 to 2010, and he wrote a guide to identify Disney-branded shirts. All sorts of good stuff on here. Almost, you're speaking our language. We get into the weeds on some stuff, and you've definitely done it on shirts and a site called Dekund, which we'll link this on the show notes here as well. But it's a go-to resource for vintage T-shirt collectors over the past 15 years. So we'll link that up, Brett. That's super fun to dig into and can definitely take you down a rabbit hole for sure. So, all right, thank you, Brett. I know you guys have been on the Empress Lily. I'm not sure if you all did the character breakfast. Todd, I think you might have. We saw the pictures.
Yeah, got the
I
film
did it.
to
I got
prove
a
it.
pennant. I have the plastic cup here. Karen sent us a little picture here for the archives, and this is basically you finish the character breakfast and they gave you like a piece of paper, which you know how these things are now. I just got one a week ago from Kate May Cafe with all the character autographs on it, and sometimes they make it home, sometimes they don't. This one made it home though. It says you fill it out basically, like a certificate presented to Brian Miles. This certifies your membership as an honorary mate of the Walt Disney World Character Breakfast crew on board the Empress Lily riverboat at Walt Disney World Village, and it's signed by Mickey, the captain of the Empress Lily. So nice little piece there. It's got a lot of fun characters around the Empress Lily too. So it's a very age appropriate thing. The way the characters are on there, the image, the Mickey autograph. It's very cool. So we'll put that on the site, Karen, and we appreciate you sharing that with us as well.
And I did not get to experience the character breakfast there, but my parents did take me, make us get dressed up and go to a fancy dinner on the Empress Lily on my first trip. And I had
so you went
eaten
to
there on
the
subsequent trips. That's the night I got in trouble from my dad for saying the word sucked.
Sure.
Remember you telling us
13-year-old me was,
I love that
got
story.
in trouble on the way to dinner at the Empress Lily.
Oh, Sudge.
I have not eaten there probably since the character breakfast when I was 8. I think
I did paddle fish at some point during the pandemic. We ate up on the open deck. I had dinner with my friend Caitlin up there, and I just remember it was 3 courses, and like one was terrific, one was inedible, and one was okay. It was a mixed bag there at paddlefish.
Not the memorable experience you were looking for.
It was I've come to recognize every meal's a crapshoot, no matter where you eat. So, unless it's the Brown Derby, where every meal is outstanding.
There you go.
All right. Well, next up, we got a letter from George. He says, "Hi, gentlemen. I'm your latest binge listener. What a ride! Now I have to learn patience and wait for my monthly episodes." A little word of warning for people: if you are binging, and I mean, if you caught this one, it's, obviously you're listening years in the future. Take your time. You don't want to catch up too fast. I know it's tough, but it's one of those things here. So he says, y'all feel like buddies I drink a beer or a tiki drink with and shoot the breeze. Big kudos to you for preserving history. He's super pumped about all this, and he likes catching up on stuff he was too young to remember. His parents took him along for his first visit when he was 3 weeks old in 1989.
Wow.
And so is he old enough to drink yet?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess he would be like 30, right?
Yeah.
Do they let people drink at 30 these days?
I don't know. Probably.
Well, George, you're more than welcome to buy me a drink whenever we meet. I will happily take you up on that offer, as I think the rest of the gents will too.
Sure.
And JT, you should probably tell people too that if they are binging on us, that the older episodes are of a different quality. We didn't have the semi-sophisticated microphones that we do now.
We did not.
Although we also didn't know all the things we know now. So
that's true.
I have gone back and listened to a few older ones, like wanting to cringe, but then they go well. I mean, I sit there and I go, okay, that's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
He actually went back 2 more times before he turned 1. So George had 3 visits in before he was 1 year old, and
he was the first lifestyler.
That, and he was there at the age before one, I don't know how many months, opening week of MGM Studios.
Oh, nice.
Now here's where we get...
Maybe they smashed a pie in his little baby face.
You know, that is one thing I always think of when I walk by there. Isn't that the one where like the Frozen sing-along is now, where you walked, it's like a ramp down at the studios that Howe was talking about? And I always think about Howe saying when he opened the thing, they opened the fridge and it was like a cooler full of pies just all stacked up neatly.
Wait till we do our Disney MGM Studios event someday, and it's just a whole pie smashing fight.
That'd be great, a pie
That'd be
fight.
great.
He said he grew up with annual passes, and they stayed at Fort Wilderness quite a bit. And his sister and I have been working to digitize all of our family's videos and pictures. He's sharing 3 videos his grandma shot at the Vacation Kingdom. Now, George, we need your permission to share these, or post them out. I don't want to without your permission, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing them, because they were super fun to watch, and we love seeing this stuff. This is almost like a call out to anybody that's, I know in the pandemic I got into digitizing a little more with the free time, and I'm sure all of us VHS camcorder kids they're getting up there in age. So if your parents have that stack of tapes, you might want to get on this soon before they deteriorate and fall apart. Right. But while you're doing that, make sure you share them with us, because with our keen eye and our expertise, as George said, we might catch something that you don't see. Anyways, George, appreciate it, and I'm sorry that when you finally were excited to get caught up to do the latest Audio Rewind, you realized we stopped 5 years ago doing Audio Rewind Puzzlers. So appreciate the videos, George. He did send us Epcot 94, Fort Wilderness 95, and more from 95, somewhat of a grab bag. So these are super fun to watch, and I need to watch them on the TV next, because the phone just doesn't do it justice. All right, we got one more here. This is from Lisa. Lisa wrote us from, Brian, what's your state? The Keystone State.
Yes.
And she started listening to your podcasts. She says her family literally lived, breathed Disney. They traveled every 6 to 8 weeks at times to Disney from Pennsylvania, and they stayed at the Contemporary in the same room at the North Wing. Now, I have to ask this because I have a fascination with Disney hotel rooms. Like, I like seeing one that's like, oh, that one's got a weird extra bump out and you have more space, or there's a little like roof overhang, in the room. How do you secure the same room would you know the manager?
There's a couple answers to that. If you recall, in the last couple of months, did we talk about his email in one of our episodes? The fella whose grandparents went every year for 3 weeks and 6 weeks, and on their 100th
this
stay.
Is it.
Yeah,
this is
I
it.
think so.
This is the same one?
Yeah, this is Lisa.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that. So, yeah, in the era before the internet, I think you could get to know, the managers, and Disney reservations knew you. You could request specific rooms and all. Once there became, with the invention of the internet and message boards, and there was like a guide if you went to All Ears and those types of sites, like, well, here's how you get the room you want. You fax the main desk, or you send a letter to once 100 people are doing that, then you're less then it becomes an annoyance. When there's 4 people who have specific rooms that they want, that they're dealing with in a week, it's a courtesy they're more than welcome to do. Now everything is you can ask them for the moon, and you're not likely to get it anymore.
So the internet ruined it. You could call
courtesy. It's one of those many things that the more people that learned about it, it became less an accommodation they're willing to make, because,
The other thing, too, is that there's sites out there that now will basically take your reservation and tell you that they'll automatically put in for a specific room. So now you've automated it. All you have to do is sign into one of these services and say, I want room 324 in the Polynesian in this building. And they're like, oh, we'll automatically send it over to you. So it's like Brian said, they're just getting it constantly.
Right.
It used
Right.
because you were just happy to be there and you picked your view, and now it's like, oh, I want, this particular room because it's got a view of the fireworks, or it's closest to the ice machine, or it's, I
offed a guy there in '84, and I want to make sure that I removed all the body parts out of the room.
No, Brian, it's like that Love Boat episode where they tried to get the same cabin or the specific cabin because they thought
they
the
hid
painting, the special painting was hidden in there with the money or the jewels or something.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was a good one.
Then they found out all the rooms were renumbered on the ship.
Exactly. It turned out to be in the lobby.
Now, have any of you been on a trip, stayed somewhere for at least one night, and then stayed in the exact same room, like on a future date?
Not
anywhere.
I don't remember that. I mean, I do remember the night before our first Retro Magic. I stayed one night in the Contemporary, and they upgraded me to one of the penthouse suites on the floor with the concierge and lounge and everything. So, because I was staying one night and had paid rack rate.
I was gonna say you paid racks.
Yeah, I paid. It was like $750
right,
for the
let's
night.
Move him up
so
there.
they just they bumped me up for the night.
Johnny, we got one.
The other thing I remember is one time, just by happenstance, I got a corner room at the French Quarter. So I had windows in the front and windows on the other wall too, which was very nice. You had two walls of windows instead of one. But I never stayed in the same room twice that I can recollect.
I gotcha.
Stayed in the same building more than once. I requested, like when I used to stay at Dixie Landings, there was a couple buildings I preferred and would say I want to, put me in one of these two buildings. And
like I've remembered Fort Wilderness site numbers we've stayed at, and then like if I'm there, we're zipping around the golf cart, I'm like, there's where we stayed in 2001, or something like that. That's kind of fun to. I
have one also in the Polynesian that I stayed at. I remember that was right on the corner it's the last building before you hit water, but on the far side of the resort, like on the luau side of the resort. And I was in a corner room there not facing the water, actually facing the longhouse. But I remember that room for some reason. I don't remember what number it was, but I remember staying in that room.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You sit there. We had it happen once where we stayed at a hotel on the drive down, and we got a suite because we had our kid. We put a kid in a separate room and that whole deal. And on the way back, we booked the suite, and they gave us the same one. So it was like, wait, we were just here. I wonder if anybody's been here since. And like I was thinking, the Love Boat thing. Like I should have left my deodorant in the bathroom. I probably still would have been here. So anyways, Lisa, we went on a tangent there. So Lisa, they had the same room. They knew him there. Even she's going into their love of Disney. They even had their pool tiled with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Oh.
Here's the fun one though. In the year 2000, they were honored by the Contemporary for 156 visits.
Yeah.
They have a plaque and they even sent a limousine.
Yep, they sent the limousine.
Wow. To pick them up at the airport to take them to the Contemporary. Why visit 156? Maybe it was at 100 or something, but
yeah, worth 150, and by the time they got to it, it was 156.
But they they had Mickey there to greet them when they got out of because they had like a whole reception line for them when they pulled up the Contemporary, and there's video of it. It was really neat to see.
I think you could reach 1,000 now, and they wouldn't do that. So
they don't care.
Yeah,
they just
She did say though they had an amazingly large Disney collection in Philadelphia, but sadly parents passed and they auctioned off a lot of the items and stuff. But Lisa, if you have any photos of the plaque of the limousine, I'm sure you guys took a lot of pictures, but that'd be fun to see any of that stuff that was. I'm guessing you guys have a few photos from that room, and you want to tell everybody what room it was. Contemporary, we could stay in that one at some point.
We could request it.
Yeah, but thanks, Lisa, for that fun story. We appreciate that. As I get older and I don't like fighting the theme parks, the resort stories always ring out to me because they all seem to have a different little panache to them, a little thing, because they're run by different people and different niceties and things and all that. So it's fun to hear resort stories as well.
I will say I think they should have an award named after them for long stays like that, even if they don't recognize it. I think, and it should be, your plaque should come hanging on a little corrugated wall. I think that would be appropriate.
That would be cool. I'd love to see what the plaque looks like. And then you wonder, is it like, was that just like that manager because he knew them coming all those times and he did it to be nice, or did they give plaques out often for long stays to anybody?
I think they were really unique, and not only did they come often, but I believe the email said they would stay for like 4 to 6 weeks. Like they were there for long stretches of time.
Gotcha. Well, all right. Again, thank you, Lisa. If you'd like to reach out to us, let us know some stories, comments, questions, anything, send us a message, podcast@retrowdw.com. We can also take your instant messages, your social media, your tweets, anything like that. Let us know, and there's a chance your message or question could end up on a future episode. And thank you so much for all the writing.
All right, well, it's time for this episode's main topic, and we are going to take a walk over to the Disney Institute. Well, maybe we'll take a bus, or maybe we'll take a little boat over from Port Orleans. A shuttle. We're going to walk the grounds and see what it was like back in the 90s when the Disney Institute... Oh, this thing just screams 90s. I cannot wait to talk about it. But, Brian, you're going to lead us through this trip back into time that was It was meant to be something very different in a different place. And we're going to learn a little bit how it materialized and how it eventually faded away.
Something tells me I'm going to remember this vacation.
There's a new kind of vacation at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. It's a vacation that immerses you in a special world where you can try new things, where you can explore and discover at a resort destination unlike anything you have ever experienced.
You won't believe what you can do. All the things that you can try.
The Vacation Kingdom itself, this property went through many, many different incarnations. So I said this episode starts great for me as the leader because I get to deflect to Hal Bowers to give us, the Disney Institute opened in 1996, and we've got some 1990s era prehistory to go over. But before that, we've got the 70s and 80s in this property that borders the Lake Buena Vista shopping village. And I am deferring to Hal Bowers, our resident expert on the era, because he used to buy his pies nearby from the Village Bakery, to just going to give us the Reader's Digest version of this property prior to its transformation into the Disney Institute.
That's true. We used to go to Lake Buena Vista and look across at those fancy townhouses and go, wow, that must be where the fancy people stay, because they have no idea what that's all about. Yes, and I will do the Reader's Digest tonight. I will make this very brief. I'm sure in a future episode we can do a deep dive into this, but I want to give a shout out to Dr. Alan Bowers, who actually acquired a sales booklet from the townhomes there. And so the materials that I'm looking at tonight are some of it are directly from that have some juicy details, which we're just going to skim over. So we will go deeper in that. But yeah, so before it was the Disney Institute, it started out as kind of a curious idea. So, picture, Walt Disney World. We've got, 2 hotels, Contemporary, the Polynesian, and then, that's Disney's out of money. They're broke. They just built a theme park and the 2 hotels that they didn't want to pay for, but Roy pulled out the wallet and took care of it and kicked U.S. Steel to the curb, and they got that done. And so the next step for them to do was try to develop more of the property, and that meant getting hotel partners to come in and build hotels. But kind of unlike Disneyland, where all the hotels were built up right around the Magic Kingdom, they bumped them over to Lake Buena Vista. Which was a little bit far away, so you didn't have that encroachment on the park like you did in California. And then that really became kind of the first place that Disney was going to dip its toes into building a city. So they weren't quite ready to try to do Epcot, but they thought, hey, let's get our toes wet in doing the kind of land development and building for some communities. But we know the one thing that we don't want is residents. So they came up with the idea to build a series of townhomes and then lease them out to corporations. As it says in this letter, It says, our present effort for the second home community. So it was not intended to be primary residence. It was, a place you would come on vacation. They say it meets corporate needs. So this is dated January 29th, 1973, and they're saying 70 corporations had already leased one or more townhomes in the Lake Buena Vista area to entertain their customers, suppliers, salesmen, distributors, dealers, and jobbers. I like that word, jobbers.
Jobbers.
Absolutely.
Come on, jobber.
So the first round of construction on these townhomes, they built 80, and as you can tell from this letter, they apparently had 70 booked, with either a 1 year or 2 year commitment right away in 73, which is astonishing. Besides the townhomes, they also built an 18-hole golf course designed by a gentleman named Joe Lee. And then, of course, a clubhouse with restaurants and things there. So they were trying to build up, not only the townhomes, but also the amenities. And then, as Todd actually kind of alluded to, Lake Buena Vista had the shopping village there, which was built afterwards as part of this kind of grand plan. That's where the supermarket would be. So you could go to the shops over there and buy your wine or your cold cuts or your pies or whatever you needed, and then take it back to your townhome.
I just can't believe the golf course wasn't designed by Tom Fazio, because they always said that. It's the only thing I knew about the golf courses.
Yeah. So that was kind of the idea as how it started out, is let's build, corporate housing. So in theory, you would go sell this to, your RCAs and your big money sponsors, and they might buy one of these, so that way when their executives come down on vacation, they have a nice place to put them.
And one of the side notes there is that the whole 1960s Reedy Creek, Disney pitching its City of the Future, Epcot, getting all these approvals to basically be allowed to do almost whatever it wanted to build the Magic Kingdom. These guys that inherited all of Walt's grandiose plans kept trying to do things to kind of tread water to show the state of Florida and the counties, oh, hey, look, we're doing what we said. So one of the things they said they'd do was build a residential community. So it was like, well, this will fool them for a while. We'll build these townhomes.
Yeah, and it's funny. They actually did, as this starts to progress, you go into like 74, 75, and then you start to see those. That's when you saw that big plan with like a people mover that ran over to the townhomes, over to Disney Village. When they had the building that eventually would house the Sun Bank, they had a plan for like 3 or 4 of those, like down the strip against I-4, plus a multimodal transportation center to tie it all in together with a monorail and other local transportation. So they really were trying to like, well, we can't build Epcot, but we can build this, which is
kind of something else. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get the half part of it.
Yeah. Now, one of the funny things that you would get if you were one of the corporate renters is you would get a residential hostess as part of your package. So this would be someone, a lady apparently, because they are very distinct about hostess, who would be kind of like a concierge for you. So anything that you needed, church services, you needed shopping done, air travel, how do I get to a nurse? How do I get road maps? Where's the stockbroker? It's like this person would take care of all of that stuff for you. So that was kind of like one of the perks with it. And then the second perk, and this is really fascinating. So you could rent your homes furnished or unfurnished. So they had a 3-bedroom, 3.5 luxury townhouse with a loft. So that was one. So they were, wow. Like the kids were supposed to be up on the 3rd floor. There was a 1-bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse with a balcony kind of overlooking the living room. So that was your second model. And I'm surprised they're not named. Like they always, I love it when houses always have names, like the Continental,
the Brandywine.
Exactly. And for some reason they didn't have that in this one. And then there was a, I think there was 3. I'm missing the other one.
I think they had more generic names, right? There was the vacation villas and the golf villas, if I recall.
So that was a little bit later.
That was
on.
later? Okay.
That was later. So the first plan was to do these townhomes.
Okay.
Which was successful for a short period of time. Now in your townhomes, I said I wouldn't dig deep, but it's just so funny.
You always dig deep, Al. There's no stopping you.
We can't.
You
help
get a
it.
dishwasher, you get an electric dishwasher, an electric range, an electric disposal, a refrigerator with an ice maker, central heat and air, of course, a fire protection system, a telephone, tempered glass doors and windows, and powder room on the ground floor. So this is a big deal. They told you, and little courtyards and sometimes a second floor balcony and stuff. But okay, so if you were to get the furnished version, your house would be decorated and furnished by 2-time Academy Award winner Emile Curie, who he won for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but he was a set decorator and interior designer for film. For years, he worked on It's a Wonderful Life, and besides the Disney stuff, he had a long career, came to Disney, did, oh my gosh, everything for Disney from like 1953 up until the 1970s. He also did a lot of stuff for Disneyland, and he's credited as one of the few people that could do a set decoration that looked like people were actually living there rather than just something that was set up and looked phony. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, that's what the art of set decoration is. So, the set designer would say, for this film, like It's a Wonderful Life, it's like we're building a house and it's got a dining room and a living room, and, it's going to be configured in this way with these walls and whatnot. The set decorator would be the person who would then go out and acquire the furniture, the knickknacks. If for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, someone had to go out and get the organ, Nemo's organ that would be in there, and the seats and all the books that were on the bookshelves. And so not only would he go out and acquire antiques and things, but he would also have things custom made. So it's like for the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea organ, it's like he found a not working but a functional organ that had all the parts with it, used the keyboard and the stops from that, and then designed, and had fabricated the pipes that went behind it, and then added the mirror and added all the Rococo carvings to it. So this guy, he knew his stuff. He was a genius. And then what's funny is I actually have seen a couple pictures of the houses that he decorated. It just looks like any other normal kind of nice house in the 1970s. I imagine today, if you had someone like that at your disposal, there would be somebody that would say like, no, you're going to build me. I want a Nautilus room. It's like, I want something that looks like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But he was just doing, nice, tasteful decoration. But I'm sure it was a feather in the cap to be able to say like, oh yes, we have, my house was decorated by a 2-time Academy Award winner. Looking into the timeline, I think the reality might have been he was getting ready to retire, and so this was a good project to kind of ease him out, because he retired in 1974, and so this might have been just like a nice way for him to finish out his career with Disney in a more kind of low pressure, way. But it's just really cool that was something that you could have. I'm not sure what ended this townhome idea, because they said, they had 70 booked right away, and then they planned to build an additional 140 more townhomes, because I think the thought was that this was going gangbusters. It very well could have been the OPEC oil crisis, like so many other things that kind of shuffled things around. So Disney had to figure out something different to do with this. They did go and add the tree houses at this time, so that project moved forward. But they slowly started converting this into like typical rental property. It was a little nicer, obviously. But if you were looking to, instead of a hotel room, I think what it ended up doing is they realized they had an opportunity to add, real houses to their portfolio.
Yeah.
Rather than just hotel rooms, and you could charge more for that. And it was nice for families too, as well as corporate. So they kind of shifted over, and they used the Disney Village name. They added the tree houses as part of this. They probably did finish building out those additional townhomes, and then somewhere along the way, they also added. They built 4 single family homes. I can't remember now if it's 3 or 4, sort of as tests to see what they could do with designs that I think architects from WED came up with. So there were actually a couple of houses tucked in this space too. And it lasted like that through the 90s until, Michael Eisner had an idea. And so, Brian, I will hand it back to you for the continuation of the story.
I will say that we do have photos of the interior of these, and we also do have some interior footage of the decorations too. I stayed in one of the 2-level ones back in 86. And I remember, I think I've said this on the podcast episode, the Mets won the World Series one of the nights we were there. But I remember going the open staircase and looking down and going up. And I look back at the photos and I look at the decoration. I'm like, whoa.
Just sitting there thinking, boy, I wish Emil Curie was here.
It's really looking.
I have found his son.
Oh, really?
Online, yes, who is a filmmaker, but oddly or interestingly enough, he also started out doing some interior design work for Walt Disney World under the tutelage of his father. He decorated the golf resort.
Oh, look at that.
And so I'm going to reach out to him this week and see if we can set up a possible.
Yeah, see if he wants to get some French fried ice cream with us. That's what the golf resort was famous for. Well, so yes, it lived on as a vacation home option through the 1980s. And let's talk about how it became the Disney Institute. So the first mention of the Disney Institute is in 1990 in plans for the planned residential community that would ultimately become Celebration, Florida. This was in the midst of the Disney decade, right? Yeah, the big Disney decade.
Yeah.
Where they had buku plans. And originally it was envisioned to be part of Celebration. The Institute was going to be across the water, on the other side of the water, if you've ever been to Celebration. And the thought process was that some of the buildings in Celebration could be utilized by the Institute during the day. And one example was the movie theater, when they weren't in use by the residents of Celebration. So this is the pie in the sky when they're designing Celebration initially and announcing it. They're talking about the Disney Institute. And so this would come up at stockholder meetings and whenever Michael Eisner did press calls. This was a pet project of his. He was very, very big on this. Fast forward a couple of years to March 1992. The shareholder meetings were frequently held in Orlando. So that year one actually was, and Michael Eisner gave an interview after the shareholder meeting to the Orlando Sentinel, talking about his ideas for the Institute. They wanted him to shed a little light on it. And he talked about the Chautauqua effect. And so, of course, most of us are sitting here saying, what's the Chautauqua effect? It sounds like
Chappaqua, New York?
It sounds like a really bad 70s disaster film.
Yeah.
So, but let me give you a few snippets from this March 2nd, 1992 article from the Orlando Sentinel. Eisner envisions Disney City with Educational Institute. Michael Eisner daydreamed recently about what he'd eventually like to see happen at the planned Disney Institute in Osceola County. He said the Institute would one day be part of Celebration, a 5,200-acre city that Disney wants to build on its land in northwest Osceola. When plans were announced, the Institute was described as a place that would resemble a college campus, where residents and guests would be entertained, exercised, and educated with a never-ending array of movies, seminars, lectures, and sporting events. In a brief interview after the shareholders meeting on February 18th in Orlando, Eisner said he would like the Disney Institute to be kind of Chautauqua, which point the Orlando Sentinel reporter then has to write 7 paragraphs on what Chautauqua is. The Disney chairman was referring to a late 19th century educational movement. The movement's first meeting, instigated by a Methodist clergyman, was held at Chautauqua, New York in August 1874. Quickly grew to form a school of languages established in 1878, a summer school for public school teachers in 1879, and a school of theology in 1881. In addition, there were Chautauqua clubs for young people interested in reading, music, fine arts, physical education, and religion. In this century, being the 20th century at the time, there were Chautauqua tent shows that presented entertainment, lectures, and concerts of varying quality, mostly to rural audiences. So it was a road show. Eisner said he would like to see the Institute become a place where, thinkers, artists, educators, and those interested in exercise and health could exchange ideas. So this is Michael Eisner's big idea in 1990, 91, 92, that this is going to be part of Celebration.
Say, Brian, did you know why Michael Eisner thought Chautauqua was a cool idea?
No, how? Why did he think it was a cool idea?
Because he went there in 1985.
Frequently Michael Eisner went places and then said, hey, you know what? It would be really cool to do this at Disney.
That's exactly what he did. He's like, hey, this is neat. I wonder if we could do something like this. But it took, 7 or so years to get it spun up.
And different locations.
I heard he went there because he had his heart surgery, and it was stress relief.
No, the heart surgery came later. If it was 1985, he didn't do the heart. The heart surgery thing didn't happen until after Frank Wells died, right? And that was the mid 90s.
Yeah, that's when I heard he went and got the idea. I don't know, but that's
no. The he did not have his heart attack until the 95, 96, 97, somewhere around there. It was after Frank Wells passed away. And after the Disney Institute was already a thing or becoming a thing. So you can kill that urgent legend, JT, because that's not what had happened. But a few months later, January 1993, a Scottish newspaper has the first blurb you can find. So if you've ever read British tabloids, there's always a lot of little snarky columns and things in there. So in a travel column, they have a little blurb about the Disney Institute. Says you can't beat the Americans for dreaming up unusual new ideas for holidays, and their latest is truly original. Alongside the theme parks and resorts, Disney will shortly unveil a totally fresh idea in leisure to be called the Disney Institute. Educational courses, no less, in every subject from opera to health. People love to absorb fresh information on their interests, said a spokesman. It's a revolutionary approach to making a holiday worthwhile. Learning on holidays sure is! ! But then the Disney boys are always first with the most unlikely ideas, combining thrills and spills alongside information. So that's January 93, a Scottish newspaper mentioning it for the Brits. And in the summer of 93, we then get an article, again from the Orlando Sentinel, centered around a shareholders meeting talking about everything that Walt Disney Company has going on in there. And the Disney Institute is listed as a site for learning vacations on the drawing board. Again, no details. But at this point, they are no longer mentioning it as part of the celebration. So that is there.
It's interesting at this time frame. What year was this again, Brian?
We're in 93, 94 right now, but in 93 at the moment.
Okay, so, remember the whole Epcot education thing. And
yes.
Is this... I'm trying to remember when that started to fall apart, and it's interesting that they're pushing the education somewhere else because, you can get... Your teacher will let you take the time off to go see Epcot because it's educational, and the school will excuse you. This is like moving the education from somewhere that they knew it wasn't going to fly anymore in a way.
Right.
Well, I'm just wondering, when did the Epcot education stuff really start to falter? Was it around then?
It was still going in the mid '90s when I went because it was horrible.
It really wasn't until the
Test
2000s.
Track.
Yeah.
Test Track was under construction in '96. Don't forget.
It was, but they didn't really pivot away until the Millennium Celebration and kind of one by one gutting, moving the Living Seas moving to Nemo and all that.
Right.
It was all kind of a progressive thing that went piece by piece.
I think your real question, Todd, is when did the Walt Disney Educational Media Company fold?
That's true, right?
Because the whole teacher center at Epcot was, offshoot of that.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
really went.
It was to push films and software and things that they were peddling.
So when that division goes down, that's probably the end of the super educational part of Epcot being there.
Right.
As far as direct outreach to teachers and doing straight education stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. There's a memo to Wells from Eisner in '85, and he says, "I'd like for us to consider a fourth gated attraction, a Walt Disney World version of Chautauqua that it enhances the entire image of Disney World and realizes the ultimate Disney resort dream." So he thought it was a fourth gate. He considered that a fourth gate. And so really, I think that's why you saw this big emphasis. They're like, oh, well, it's not just, to your point, Todd, it's like, let's not make this part of Epcot. Let's make this a monetizable separate thing, which includes vacation stay. People, I think one of the ideas is like, yeah, you might go to the theme parks on your Disney Institute vacation, but you could just stay at the Disney Institute and learn all the stuff there.
Right.
So the really critical phase here in terms of its development falls from the summer of 93 until really the summer of 94. And what happens then, summer of 93, they start hiring staff. The George Bradt, B-R-A-D-T, was hired from Kraft Food Corporation as the director of marketing and sales for the Disney Institute. They started shedding more light on what was actually going to go on there and kind of rounding out more of what Eisner had kind of pie in the sky talked about. So this article from July of 93 talks about, that it's a pet project of Disney chairman Michael Eisner. It's going to be built. Now they've officially confirmed it's not Celebration. It's going to be built near the Disney Shopping Village, and that it will offer educational vacations. And then it says, oops, in quotes, enrichment vacations is the new nomenclature, because Disney is famous for renaming things. Programs are still in development, but Disney officials have revealed some specifics. Learn the secrets of animation in an annual cartoon production. Get an insider's view of movie television production from working professionals. Relax with massage or aromatherapy treatments in the spa. Explore the Disney Wilderness Preserve and learn about environmental protection. Develop your own personalized wellness program of exercise, stress education, and nutrition. The Institute, set to open late summer 1995, will have 457 lodging units in a lakeside setting. The minimum stay there will be 3 days, but customers can choose programs that last up to 7 days. Wow. There will be 3-hour overviews for novices and the impatient. And there will be 6 hours a day master classes running all week. And then it mentions the hiring of George Bradt.
Can you imagine 7 days of Rachel Ray? Oh.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that. In February '94, I already mentioned that it was talked about this project being on the drawing board. That was in the midst of a very rough year for Disney. They had the Euro Disney finance issues. Disney's America was officially killed that year. And Westcott, which had still been on the table, was in trouble as well. So that was not a great stockholder meeting for Eisner as they're in the middle of doing this project down there. Now jump forward a few months. May 19th, 1994, Disney files the paperwork with Florida to operate the Disney Institute and begins advertising construction bids to transform that existing site, demolishing some buildings, as I recall, yes, and building new ones, leaving some of the old buildings up. But they began to advertise for construction bids then. So the actual construction took about 18 months. It was not by today's standards. They spent 4 years building it.
Yeah.
But it went fairly quickly back then. And then in August 1994, they had these ads in the newspaper for every discipline. So I'm holding one up for the guys to see, the Disney Institute Entertainment Arts Job Info Fair. But they did one of these for the sports discipline and for entertainment and photography and all the different things that they intended to teach. They started holding job fairs in August of 1994 at the Sheridan World Resort, which is now the DoubleTree right by SeaWorld.
Oh, yeah.
What the ad says is that they are looking for Orlando locals, people who reside full-time in Orlando, and that a brief screening process will happen during the job fair. But for instance, in this instance, the entertainment arts one, they say the Disney Institute is a new genre of vacation experiences, offering participatory, interactive, enriching, fun vacation program experiences to guests in entertainment arts, performing arts, sports, fitness, environment, architecture, culinary arts, and a lot more. The Disney Institute, a new developing business of the Walt Disney Company, is located in Orlando, Florida, and will open October 95. So now we've heard end of summer 95. You've now heard October 95. I will give you the spoiler alert. It actually opens in February of 96. So
Miss those dates.
We'll go through.
So I have So I have groundbreaking was on July 6, 1994.
There you go.
And for the super curious, a guy named Tom Beebe, B-E-E, was in charge of the renovation and the new construction. And it's funny, they mentioned like porches, cupolas, and dormers and balconies were enhanced the current buildings to make it. So a lot of times they just took the buildings that were there and just stuck, more hometowny looking architectural elements on them to try to make it look, updated and fancier and a little more, homespun.
I occasionally overdo it because I love these little write-ups that they have on the different ways the project was described. So one of the things that was common back then was newspapers would be part of a service. The Associated Press, Gannett newspapers, Knight Ridder. There were a bunch of conglomerates that owned, 50 papers around the country in major cities and smaller towns. And so when you do a newspaper search for some of this stuff, you'll find the same article in 40 newspapers that appeared over the course of a few weeks. And in the Gannett newspapers, on about the end of the year 1994, this one's Saturday, December 3rd, 1994, but it appears over the course of a month. But article about the things Disney's doing. Also in the works, the Disney Institute, a recreation of a quaint arts community and lakeside campus with recital hall, classrooms, amphitheater, and spa and fitness center. Set to open in the fall of 1995, Disney plans to offer a new all-inclusive learning vacation aimed at families with teens and featuring interactive programs and animation, performing arts, fitness, sports, and lifestyles. So, we're seeing the build-up happen that we're kind of used to.
Yeah.
By September 95, you're now 6 months away from opening. Disney is promoting and booking for the February 1996 planned opening, and noting that guests should book as early as possible.
It's gonna fill
so
up.
There's, yeah, they want to make sure that the place goes. Michael Eisner, in one of these are Disney PR articles, says we live in an age when discovering new things is a lifetime priority, and the Disney Institute will offer a relatively charged atmosphere where you can engage your body, excite your mind, and expand your horizons. Definitely not written by a PR person. Guests can take part in programs ranging from animating a cartoon, creating a topiary, to climbing a rock wall. JT, there's your first rock wall mention.
It was one of the programs. Rock climbing.
Got to do it in the original.
Rock climbing with Tony, right around the same era.
It never stops with the rock climbing. And they do talk about Tom Beebe here, How. Designed by Tom Beebe, its facilities will include 28 program studios, a broadcast quality performance center, an outdoor amphitheater, state-of-the-art cinema, a closed-circuit TV and radio station, sports and fitness, a full-service spa, clay tennis courts, an 18-hole championship golf course, and 5 swimming pools.
Whoa.
So they are just promoting the heck out of this thing over and over again.
What's funny is, too, if you start Googling this, you find so many, I mean, it reminds me, I don't want to determine the future here, but this very much reminds me of the Galactic Star Cruiser. There's lots of press write-ups where the press were given the full 3-day treatment. Like, hey, come experience this, write about this. Like, I'm reading a lot of New York Times articles where it's like, hey, here's what I did, here's the classes. It's just funny. They really pushed this thing.
So I want to include a couple of things here. One of them is this Disney-produced article. If you remember when the studios opened, one of the big pushes was every day you were going to encounter a real live celebrity, and you didn't know who it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Betty White riding down in the Stars and Motor Cars parade, or Joni and Chachi, or whoever, Morgan Fairchild, or every day it was some different star was going to put their hands in cement, and then that kind of became like more of a weekend thing.
Yeah.
than an every day of the year, because getting 365 stars there was quite a feat for any movie studio or major corporation. Like, pretty soon you're picking, villain number 3 from Knight Rider to be your celebrity of the day, because, right? Like, you don't have an endless well of these folks hanging out in Orlando, Florida.
Yep.
So I find it fascinating that in the press write-ups beforehand, one of the big things, and it's in the preview video that I know JT loves to talk about when they started promoting this, surprise celebrities. There's just going to be surprise celebrities all over this place.
They're just going to pop.
Martin Scorsese's in the video.
Yeah, in the video, and James Earl Jones. And
like, how many times did they show up? Just once, I bet, for the filming.
This is my favorite. The Disney Institute Artist in Residence program will bring well-known expert performers to share their skills and insights, to combine their talents in new ways with other performers, and to demonstrate their ability in a performance setting and in one-on-one interactions with the guests. Participants will include basketball star Bill Walton, blues harmonica player James Cotton, actor Andy Garcia, who does, by the way, love Disney, and I follow him and his daughter on Instagram, and they're at Disneyland all the time and sometimes at Disney World. Troubadour Theodore Bickle, motion picture critics Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. Because surprise is part of the Disney Institute philosophy, these artists in residence will appear without advance notice, making every visit a special one.
Do you really? It says artists in residence. You really think Siskel and Ebert are going to go like kick back there for 3 weeks and do this stuff? Like, come on.
We're cloistering ourselves to watch the AFI 100 greatest films of all time.
Can you imagine? It'd be like, oh look, we got Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
Right.
He's going to come up and pretend to kick my face.
Exactly.
They really were going for the "if we build it, they'll come" type thing here, and hoping.
Well, look, there's no way that they would have those top 8 talents all the time. That was just, we know it's marketing. It's a marketing.
Well, that's
gimmick.
it. The beauty of promising a potential surprise celebrity interaction is that people. I remember the first time I went to Hollywood. Didn't you think you were going to run into like Jennifer Aniston coming out of the 7-Eleven?
But this goes back to the childhood. This is like going to the gumball machines with all the cool toys in it, and you turn the knob. You never get the good one. You know what I mean? No, it's. But
you've booked your 3 to 7 day stay at the Disney Institute, just hoping that Julia Child comes out and shows you how to make toast.
So this has got to be. We're going to take. Oh, I've cut myself. I gotta ask those listening. If you went to the Disney Institute, please write in. I'd love to know who the celebrity was that you worked with. And let's find out. I'm curious. I'm really curious what experiences were out there.
I also want to know. It sounds like they spent a boatload of money to build all these things, like the 225-seat performance hall in the state-of-the-art cinema that holds 400. Is that stuff still there? Did they demolish it all when they turned it down? Okay.
A lot of those facilities, because if you remember, our first Disney rep pimped the theater to us, the 100-seat performance theater at what was formerly the Institute is still there as a place where we might want to hold a special event or a screening or something.
It's not a bad space.
No. It's just not big enough for the kinds of things we do. But it's
for small movie screenings.
So I have the official announcement press release here. This is all from a packet, by the way, that we graciously got from Deb Will's collection, formerly of allears.net, who has been weaning down her collection and offering some of the stuff to us before it goes to auction, and we've taken her up on some of it. She was a guest as a notable influencer before that was a term, back in back when it opened in 1996, and so she got this packet of stuff, and there was a lot of really, really cool stuff in it during her stay there at the Institute. They actually have that quote from Michael Eisner that I just read to you that was clearly from a press release is right here, the second paragraph of the press release. But it does announce that it is on schedule for, this isn't undated, by the way, for a February 9th, 1996 opening, the first-class resort hands-on experiences, artist in residence program. Most of this is a repeat of stuff we've already taken. At this point now, they are talking about 80 programs in 9 different program tracks: entertainment arts, sports and fitness, lifestyle, story arts, culinary arts, design arts, environmental, youth, and performing arts. I'm not going to go through what each of them are because we will touch on some of it. But the artist in residence program is revisited. There's a few different names here. Some of the guest speakers who've already agreed to participate include former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, who was eventually put on the Disney Board of Directors, Bill Walton, Bruce Jenner.
We're back to Bill Walton again.
and Lute Olson. I don't know who Lute Olson is, but I'm sure some of you do. Siskel and Ebert, Opera's Cheryl Milnes, Milnes. I apologize to the opera fans. Composer Morton Gould, architects Robert A.M. Stern, Frank Gehry, and Michael Graves. In select programs, guests can choose a la carte or from packages that focused on a particular topic, such as gardening or animation. Disney Institute vacation consultants are available to assist plans in their itineraries, both prior to and arrival at the resort. There's the promise of an actual fun vacation when you're done at the Disney Institute. And the Disney Institute will be for adults and older children who haven't lost their sense of wonder, says Richard Hutton, the vice president of Disney Institute. All our guests will be able to design their own vacation, doing as much or as little as they like. No two guests will have the same experience. It's like riding the Tower of Terror when they mixed it up. It mentions everything it's going to have there that we've already gone over. Guest rates for the Disney Institute will be approximately $582 per person, double occupancy for a minimum of 3 nights stay. This charge covers accommodations, programs, baggage tips, a 1-day Disney theme park pass, and taxes.
Here's the best part. All that doesn't include what, though? Your food. You don't get fed. You have to pay extra for your meals.
Well, you're correct to a point. I have with me here the welcome letter that you would have received from Mary Beth Naughton Bisnier, or I think it's Bisnier, who was the general manager of the Disney Institute. If you checked in, she tells you, although we know much of your day will be filled with exciting discoveries, we hope you will take a moment to explore some of our new facilities, such as Seasons Dining Room, the spa at the Disney Institute, and my absolute favorite, Dabblers, the Disney Institute store.
That is such a 90s name for a store. I mean, Dabblers.
You're dabbling.
You're
dabbling in little things here. You're dabbling in photography. You're dabbling in the arts.
Just trying it a little bit.
It's funny.
Can I pay just a little bit for those things?
This one cast member thing you have, they just have referred to it as a general store. They don't call it Dabblers yet.
Well, it was Dabblers here, and again, undated, but somewhere between 96 and 99, because that's where all my materials are from. If you have any questions regarding your programs, please make sure you stop by our program services desk in the Welcome Center, where you picked up your welcome kit, or you can just touch Institute programs on any house phone. So they had a button that said Institute programs, and you would instantly get someone on the horn to talk about, hey, I want to learn how to make a topiary of a camera while learning about wine, singing opera, and I would really like Frank Geary to show me how to design my house.
And I saw James Earl Jones in the video. Is he going to be there?
Yeah, where's James Earl Jones? When's that?
I want dinner with
when's
him.
that? So they would I have a tremendous amount of materials here on the classes. There's
Wouldn't it be funny if James Earl Jones did something completely non-acting related?
James Earl Jones teach you how to rock climb.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now hold on tightly.
Simba.
I made this mistake once and was run over by wildebeest.
So the program was, you stay for 3 days. There's morning sessions and afternoon sessions, and every day you can see it's basically a matrix where there is a half dozen things offered in the morning, a half dozen things in the afternoon, and you pick one of each. That's the ideal there. Now, what they've imply here in the materials is you don't have to go to class if you don't want to, if you just want to hang out by the pool or just take a morning session, and you pick one from what they're offering. So, culinary program, design arts, entertain arts, gardening and the great outdoors is a canoe adventure on this one Monday in the mornings, aerobics, and then they have youth stuff. When I say youth stuff, ages 7 to 9.
Yeah,
there is a separate program for them. If you have kids under 7, forget it. You're not welcome at the Institute. They got to go somewhere else. But there was a Disney Institute camp that would occupy the kids. And then at nighttime, there was always something to entertain people, where they would have a show, which I do have a schedule.
Well, if you took, wasn't it like if you took an improv class all morning, then you would perform on the stage or something? Oh,
so I do have it. It's on the back here. So say you did 2 classes during the day, whichever 2, 3, or 7 days you were there. Then at night, every night there was some kind of entertainment. The first night here on this one in December of, I believe, 1999, Jim Korkis, the infamous Jim Korkis, presented A Very Merry Christmas. The quick description is Jim Korkis, actor, magician, and animation historian, presents a collection of Disney cartoons. So literally he was just hosting Disney cartoons. And they list a half dozen Christmas or winter-related shorts, which are probably the ones that are shown now in the Philharmagic Theater during Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. They run those Christmas and hot and winter shorts now in the theater as a thing to do. So, and then there's one night you could go watch The Santa Claus starring Tim Allen. There were the Children's Holiday Choral Festival was one night there. So, and that was featured in this program was the St. Louis Symphony Children's Choir, who probably was either performing at the Candlelight Processional or at the Magic Kingdom or something. And they booked them over here at the Institute to entertain the people staying at the Institute. So, we're going to post a lot of this stuff, but clearly the, hey, stay here for 3 to 7 days thing was not a big seller, because they immediately also began running a day visitor program to fill the class spaces. And the day visitor program was to sample a day at the Disney Institute. And basically you could just pick a thing that you wanted to, one of the courses that you wanted to crash and pay a fee. I have a couple of
That makes so much more sense, too. I mean, the committal of somebody for 3, 5, 7 days. I mean, can you imagine, bringing a family down and, hey, kids, we're going to crochet for 3 days, and the top crocheter may JT, I feel like a kid would be kind of like you at Fort Wilderness, just staring at the Magic Kingdom, calling you, and you can't go.
it's just more interesting because you tell the family or whatever, and I know they were angling it towards people with an older kids, that wouldn't go, or they were already moved out, but it was like, we're going to Disney World. Oh, what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna canoe and crochet, and I'm gonna get a massage. Like it doesn't connect. Like that's like
from James Earl Jones.
Yeah. He's giving
relax your muscles.
So let's, it opened in February of '96. It lives in this incarnation for 4 years until 2000, and I'll touch on that in a bit. But let's take a look at the day program from 1999. I have a day visitor program brochure here from '99. The pitch is more or less the same. Like to cook, feel like climbing a rock wall, creating an animated character, think you'd enjoy anchoring the news. You can try things in a new place of joyful discovery right on the Walt Disney World grounds. And then they run through a bunch of other things. We have youth programs too. We'll even provide complimentary private transportation from select Walt Disney World resorts. And right in the front, it's got the pricing. Day visitor program, one of the sessions, either a morning or afternoon session, $69. The full day, which was 2 programs, one in the morning, one after the noon, was $99, including taxes. And then they have the general, schedule matrix here, all of which I had scanned in earlier and sent to you guys. But in the back, they have some descriptions. And I like some of the, photos, because they've obviously got some updated photos here. But, this one shows a man learning to take a photograph of flamingos at Discovery Island with a professional photographer instructor. Here's an elderly woman learning how to draw in the animation class. There's just photographic storytelling, different kinds of photography, on location television. You can see that they were, a lot of the topiaries, which we got a letter about a topiary program tonight, didn't we, JT? Somebody wrote in about actually participating in the programs in this era. So I think it's probably a good idea to read one of those, read that letter, so people can get a firsthand experience on what might have been going on there. And then afterwards, I'm going to fill you in on the season's dining room menu.
Yeah, this is from Bob Smith. I sometimes don't give last names, but I think Bob Smith's identity's safe. He
just don't Google Robert Smith. You'll get The Cure. You'll get a lot of the music group The Cure, right?
Yeah. Could.
Maybe it's him.
He could be.
I'm going to the Disney Institute.
I was a trainer and I did the work.
He's the celebrity.
He's the celebrity.
Now, he did say...
I'm so happy to be here.
He did say he organized a leadership retreat at Walt Disney World for the company I was working with at the time. So he was the one who kind of called and set it up and all that. We don't know the company he was working with, but he says they didn't stay at the Disney Institute. They stayed at Coronado Springs, which was brand new. So what year is this?
Oh,
I don't know what year it opened. I'll let somebody Google while I'm reading.
I'm gonna look. I think that's 2000, but let me look.
See, he scheduled the agenda so that each of us would be able to attend 2 sessions at the Institute. He got into the art of Disney topiary.
Coronado Springs opened August 1st, 1997. So this is early in the Institute's life.
So they were doing the day programs then, I'm guessing, that early.
The day programs were the very first year. I mean, after they opened up booking for 6 months, they realized, hey, these 3-day guys aren't filling these classes. We got to figure something out. And so they were marketing the day programs right out of the gate.
So you wonder if it was cheaper then for the company, you're trying to figure out the bottom line, like, hey, we're sending these people to Disney. Well, we're not doing that. Okay, but I got it for a little cheaper because we're staying at Coronado and not there, and then we're going to do the day programs from there. Anyways, he did Art of Disney Topiary. He says he thinks it's one of the more popular sessions, a hands-on experience where everyone left with a living topiary to take home. It was about 2.5 hours long, took place in a room that was designed for garden-related instruction. The price of the session, he believes, was about $70. Included everything needed, instructors' tools. 30 people in the class, had 2 instructors. They were pleasant and knowledgeable, and it is clear that they had presented this material before. Several people from my company attended. I remember laughing and smiling through the entire thing. It was a great team-building experience and made even better by the idea we each had a souvenir. He did say none of the souvenirs survived, though.
Aw.
The other one he did was the Art of Disney Architecture. He's a huge fan of architecture, and he remembers being incredibly excited for this Institute offering. This was a 2-hour driving tour of various and notable works of architecture around Disney World. They drive building to building, stepping out of a van, short walk around the building to discuss. He was a bit disappointed that our means of transportation was a plain, white 15-passenger van. We've all been there.
Yes.
He was hoping to tour the property in like a Disney bus. So the size of the van limited the size of the group to 15, which was great. The bad part was that I always seemed to be the one who was climbing into the very back of the van, into that unsafe seat.
Isn't that terrible when you get that first seat and then everybody just takes their same seat when they get back in the van at each stop?
Yeah. I think in our tour somehow I ended up shotgun every time because I wasn't feeling good, and then like everybody was like, "Just you're by yourself."
I think you were the only one traveling alone.
Yeah, that was why. We learned a bit about each building, including the architecture and design. The person leading the tour is pleasant, knew about the buildings. In other words, I don't think he was a huge architect fan in general, but had studied what needed to be presented. It was on the level of the tours that offered a theme parks in terms of quality information presented. Other than the white van, I really enjoyed the session. So he says he's real sorry the Institute no more. At this point in his life, he'd really love to spend a few days immersed in this kind of learning for fun environment while being able to take advantage of everything else Disney has to offer. Now, I will say, looking back as a 40-year-old adult now, I would much rather go to the Disney Institute with updated current programs than the Galactic Star Cruiser for that kind of money. That would be way better for me.
You know, that's a great point. I mean, our age is different now, but think about different different things you're going to get out of it, right?
You'd come home knowing how to cook or landscape instead of pretending you were a spaceman for 3 days.
Right.
Well, you could like pick, like you could, it would apply to your life. Like, I mean, how often do we go down there for, our things and events, and it's like an adult trips to Disney now seem way more common than they were in the 90s. Like, just because you can fly down for $50.
So I have to wonder about the demographics of the United States at that time and whether there was a die-off of a certain age group that made it not tenable, and now it's changed to where, there's a lot of us in our 40s and 50s.
I was just going to say, I think it has changed now, and I think people would, as we get older, I'll say this. Let's take Disney out of the picture for a second. My family now, we travel for experiences. Sans Disney, right? Sure. We travel when we go. We're the oddball family that goes to Germany and goes to the Faber-Castell pencil factory. That's an experience. Like where else do you do that? Where else do you ride on a horse-drawn carriage through Copenhagen at a brewery? Right? You just do those experiences, and that is what makes you more well-rounded. Gives you those ability to see people in a different light and experience things and start new hobbies and meet different people. And I think you're right. How as we get older, I think those are the things that you do gravitate to. I mean, I'm not ready for a Viking cruise on the Rhine just yet, but
I will say though too, I think that's changed with the internet, because now you can pull it out on your phone, learn something, but people are almost like yearning for like the like you seeing the factory in person. You could watch a YouTube video instantly of it, but you still wanted to go see it in person. Like, this is almost that kind
YouTube,
of way.
It's funny you mentioned YouTube, JT, because that brings a really good thing too, is that our people are so inundated with doing things, right? There's always this happy music playing. People make salads in 3 minutes, and they make their house beautiful. This wall looks incredible in 30 seconds, right? What about learning how to do that, other than just watching people do things in 6 seconds on TikTok?
Sure.
Part of it too, I mean, for those of you who binge listen, we talked about this years ago, but people travel more than they used to, and they travel further, and travel is more attainable because it's a lot cheaper than it used to be. I mean, Todd, we talked about your first tickets to Walt Disney World were $980 a piece or something like that, and you couldn't, you just couldn't, like, I'm going to go to Copenhagen. Going to Copenhagen was saving up for 5 years.
Right.
And those things are within reach now. So people's experiences are broader, and the things that they seek out are broader. I don't know that any of those things are really what doomed Disney as much as the idea that people would like to go down there and learn. You know, if you're going to learn topiary or you're going to learn photography, most people in metropolitan areas anyway have a community college or have older adult education programs. There's places closer to home that offer those experiences, cooking classes, things like that, that I don't need to fly to Florida and give Disney $600 to
That's true.
be cloistered for 3 days to learn how to cook scallops. I can do that in a $25 class here at home at the local community college at night, or around here with the Ambler Adult School or other things that. So I think that the theory was a good one when we talk about its eventual fate, but the interests from people planning a vacation where they get on a plane and fly somewhere, this was not, in their top 10 choices of things to do. So I think it was a neat thing for a certain demographic. And then they ultimately had to rework it to figure out, well, who are we really catering to here? I do want to talk about, since we're talking about day programs and how they, we know when Disney would market things, it was always as a reaction to how their product was being received. Were they filling classes? Were people booking at the Disney Institute? So it opened in February 96. By Christmas of 96, and if you remember the tagline from the video, JT, and from the marketing materials,
you won't believe what you can do.
You won't believe what you can do. It was the Disney Institute's tagline. And this brochure from their very first Christmas holiday season is, you won't believe what you can do for the holidays at the Disney Institute. And so it is cover. The inside's even better. I did scan it, says, and put it in the chat earlier today. But a hands-on holidays at the Disney Institute, and at Disney Institute immerses you in the worlds of hands-on activities. Take programs in holiday menus, party planning, holiday stress reduction and storytelling, ornament making, holiday baking. All this, a host of special activities, performances, and film screenings to celebrate Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa. Tis the season to explore the holidays like never before, a place where you can engage your mind, body, etc., etc., etc. Rock climbing is mentioned, JT.
Climb a rock.
That's the part of any holiday.
Ho, ho, ho.
But the best part is the second page of this is Disney Institute Florida resident holiday packages. So overnight package, one night from $129 per person. I love this brochure. This great rate is valid December 1st to 18th, 1996, and is based on adult double occupancy. This is the second line. We have 50 rooms available at this price, and other rates are also available. I mean, it's a whole brochure for 50 rooms.
Wow.
Your experience includes bungalow accommodations at the Disney Institute, your choice of Disney Institute programs, with a double star, which says at the bottom, you may reserve up to 2 programs a day.
Only 2.
Access to the Disney Institute Sports and Fitness Center, evening performance or film screening, and special holiday activities and additional rooms tonight. Now, you may ask yourself, I don't want to stay overnight. What if I just want a day program?
You may ask yourself, how did I get here?
And the answer is, for $49 a person, you could get there and take 2 programs, a morning and an afternoon one, and do the special holiday activities, access to the Disney Institute Sports and Fitness Center, evening performance film. So you got the full experience without staying there if you live close enough to drive in.
Yeah,
for $49 instead of paying $129. So based on that,
so what's $49?
$70 was the cost to stay in the bungalow for the night. And
what's that with the inflation?
49 or 70? What do you want?
70 in 1996, I would say.
$135.
There you go. Yep. Almost 100%. Special Disney Institute holiday programs listed on the back. In the Culinary Arts, they would teach you to make chocolate truffles and holiday treats, holiday gifts from the kitchen, and healthy cooking, good to eat and good for you holiday menus. There were ways to make holiday topiaries and garden things. In the Story Arts, There was just a program on how the Magic Kingdom celebrates Christmas and decorates. And then in the entertainment arts, there were various, my goodness, these things. Holidays in the news, how holidays are made. Home videos the Disney way, holiday videos. Animation sampler, a Yuletide celebration. You get it?
Celebration.
Oh, yeah. And an animation workshop, all kinds of stuff. Talk like Santa, talk like an elf, the voices of Disney. Well, that just sounds riveting.
Boy, I feel like they went through every program and they said, let's put a holiday twist on it.
Wait, JT, you like this one? For lifestyles, dance, dance, dance. Holiday dances of the many lands and people. Computers, desktop publishing, make your own holiday cards. Or you could just buy an Avery package and do it yourself.
You didn't know how to. That was that they taught
That
you.
was the whole thing. Yeah, that is why you needed to go to the Disney Institute for the holidays.
Now,
James Earl Jones teaches you how to command food.
I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Insert
Now
the CD
Control
box.
Alt Z and start over.
Santa will come, Ray. Santa will most definitely come.
I have an interesting fact here, and it goes back to your the first year, because you're into December, right?
Yes.
So I have it opened in what, February?
February 9th. Yeah, it's 1996.
And then it started with 80 classes, and then by May, due to the lack of interest, it dropped down to 60 in just 3 months.
That makes complete sense.
I think that might be one of the things here. I mean, to your point, Brian, if you can go take a cooking class anywhere, what's the big incentive? If they had perhaps focused on the things that were unique to Disney, like the animation and, the stuff that was more Disney specific, the things that were in their expertise. Not that obviously they had tons of great culinary talent to draw on, which is, I'm sure, is one of the ideas is, we have these fantastic chefs. We have a world-class culinary program. Of course, we're going to teach culinary arts, but it's not as, the water aerobics is not a humongous draw. You don't have to go to Orlando to learn water aerobics.
So we have a couple of course materials here that we'll put up with the article that we scanned in. The one is a one-pager on outdoor photography. And so if you take this class, the art of seeing, which I remember taking photography in high school, and Gary Thacker, great teacher, teaching us, how to get down on our knee, look at things from different perspectives, how to angle your camera, so it's not just the standard, what he used to call a PhD shot, push here dummy, the 110 cameras and the Kodak discs and the simple just point and shoot cameras. Establish a subject, quality of light, composition. So, you can see the kind of thing that they taught there. But as I just said, I took a photography class in high school that taught me the exact same thing. So I'm not sure that that's, something that I necessarily want to run down there and take. The second one was, which I love, the Wine, Wonders, and Song, the Italy handout. And it's kind of an interesting one because the material is literally a Xerox paper. But it goes through, and there actually is a clip of this in the promo video that is 7 minutes long. It's on our site. We'll link to it. But they did do one promo video for the Disney Institute when it opened. And you can see in the one class, the man is sitting there showing people how to look at their glass of red wine and judge its quality and strength and smell. And so here is, pages and pages of the different kinds of wines and regions and what pairs with what, and things that people know more now. Back then, I think wine connoisseurs were, known for being a little bit snobbier back then. It was a snootier class, a bunch of Niles Cranes.
You couldn't Google it.
Where I think now people generally know what is half decent wine and what isn't. There are also two recipes that I guess they handed out in the class, a risotto alla basciola and a Tuscan flatbread, both of which I scanned in and will include. So those are two of the course kind of offerings of Disney Institute Generation 1.
I have some favorites. Can I tell you some of mine?
That was just what I was going to say before I read the seasons menu and we move on to Disney Institute Phase 2. I was going to say, does anybody else have anything to add to this?
I grabbed a couple. Things, yeah. One of my favorites here is the course it's a 2-hour course called Antique Treasure Hunting. This program shows you how to recognize and collect quality antiques from unlikely places, as well as how to care and preserve these treasures. Join in an antique treasure hunt where you become the antique detective. Discover antique repair and maintenance techniques and explore what you can do at home to display and protect your heirlooms.
I wonder if anybody made it onto Antiques Roadshow and found the $1 million painting, you know?
I don't know. Maybe the founder of Antiques Roadshow went on that class and then he was
It is entirely possible.
Now, the other one I really liked is, which this is very applicable to daily life for most people, Special Effects Makeup, a 2-hour course.
Wait. Oh, no, that's the animatronics.
You have seen the video, right? The video, one of the first shots in the video is that guy getting his face painted as a lion. He's like, I'm never going to forget this.
Oh, you will.
Yeah, they actually put him up in the Great Movie Ride for an hour, too, after that, I heard. That was the... use special effects techniques to create a character with help from a Walt Disney World Resort makeup artist. Transform your face and learn how movie and television makeup artists makes bodily injuries look real as you create bruises, scars, and more. Just don't do that before your wine tasting.
Yeah,
learn gash.
Learn how to cover up child abuse at this makeup class.
Well, I've got the night.
Wait, let me finish this.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You'll receive a keepsake photo, makeup samples for practice at home, and creative new skills to make Halloween, birthday parties, and school plays more fun. So that's a great one.
I've got a 99 burn bombs here, so tell it as it is. This was before he really got, this edition. The burn bombs guide really got Disneyfied, and they were like, "Dude, don't tell the truth," But this is funny. The guy Camp Disney was there, 7 through 15. Examples of the experiences offered include wildlife adventures and journey into imagination.
Wow.
Do any of you know what journey into imagination would be?
You go ride the ride at Epcot?
No, it's painting and sculpting. So you have to use your imagination.
What a letdown.
Yeah.
What, you mean we're going to go to a theme park? No.
However, it does say here, JT, they also a backstage look at Disney stage shows, rock climbing, and comic strip illustrations. So there was a little backstage magic there. And then in entertainment, here's where he's a little truthful here. He says, accomplished musicians, dancers, writers, and filmmakers sometimes stay at the Disney Institute for a few days, holding a workshop. Seeing one of their performances or watching a film in the on-site cinema is the perfect ending to any day, so be sure to check the program and events board in the town grid to see what's on tap. And he also says, under reservations, it's wise to register for Disney Institute programs up to 6 months in advance. However, changes can be made upon arrival based on availability. So, you sign up for crochet, you're like, I'm really feeling filmmaker this week. So that's interesting.
I have a couple here. So towards the end of the 7-minute promotional video that they made, there's this different group of people. And the one guy's like, I'm afraid of heights. I just never would have thought of climbing a rock wall, but I did it here, and I conquered my fear. And then there's somebody else. I learned how to paint and you feel so dated because you're watching it, and there's this 40s, 50s dad who says, I learned how to use a CD-ROM drive. I never would have thought I'd have learned that. And literally in this Disney Institute program descriptions, under lifestyles, there's climbing your family tree, computers, desktop publishing, and then computers, CD-ROM magic, an opportunity to experience the excitement of the latest user-friendly computer technology.
Wow.
I mean, Microsoft Encarta 94 was 2 years old when they started CD-ROM magic.
Yeah, and everybody watched that bald eagle catch that fish in the water.
I mean, it's just there's so much stuff here that is interesting, but you can see why it didn't entirely work. Now, if you took one of these programs, you got a handy Scantron form.
survey.
to fill out afterwards. They gave every participant this Scantron survey that I'm holding
it's
here.
like college.
And you could color in, questions like overall rating on the program and the instructor. Excellent, very good, good, just okay, poor, don't know, not applicable.
Oh, yeah.
And you would fill in your date and who your instructor was. And
got to give Hooked on Hydroponics a 4.
Ooh,
absolutely.
Hydroponics 4, wow.
And then at the bottom, you can see there was an office use only where they would tally up things for like how the instructor scored and things like that.
God,
So
I wonder if that's in a box somewhere at Disney, all the results.
And you had to use a number 2 pencil or a pen with black ink and color in all of the dots. So that's one of the things that we have many copies of. But, I wanted to read, where's the back of that thing? Dining. So there were 3 dining options listed here. Seasons Dining Room, a full-service restaurant serving a la carte breakfast, lunch, and dinner, offers a wide selection of delicious meals. Each night celebrates the freshest Floridian favorites, which is, I believe, now the Turf Club, where we ate last year, Todd.
Yes, we had a very nice meal out there on the patio.
Nice. And that's mentioned here. The Seasons Terrace Bar serves breakfast and lunch and alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages in a relaxed patio setting. Drinks are also served in Seasons Lounge, adjacent to Seasons Dining Room.
That's where the pool table is now.
Yes. For lighter fare, I like this one. Reflections Coffee and Pastries, located on Willow Lake, is the perfect spot to relax, meet others, and share experiences. So I have 2 observations here. Wasn't Reflections going to be the name of the silly
River Country Hotel.
Wellness River Country Resort? Okay, so it's not a coffee and pastry stand anymore, but it was in 1996. My second question is, I wonder... our buddy Joe Barlow, would write in about golfing down there and there being a bar that he loved to stop and drink at on the golf course. And I thought that was down there at the golf course at what was the Institute and became other things. So I'm wondering if this coffee and pastry bar ultimately became the golf course bar later in life.
That's interesting, cool, because down there is like a pull up. See, I have 2 things on this. You talk about the golf course. It was opened, I think, with the Disney Institute, or was that already there?
I mean, it predated, didn't it? Predate the Disney Institute?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay, so that was just there then. It's handy. Okay.
Oh yeah. That was one of the original ones that intertwined with in the. Not only the tree houses, but into some of the villas there.
And then they're down there, like below the Turf Club. If you come out the front, like your patio, there's an area you pull up with your golf cart there. I got a cool picture because they got like a funny menu with like Chip and Dale on like golf clubs or doing something weird, and it's like a drive up, bar like for snacks and that for the golfers. So that could have been it too. I don't know, like right there.
Yeah. Well, the tiny little menu, you can see. Remember when they would have the little things at the front desk with like miniature menus from all of the different restaurants?
It's like a G.I. Joe size menu.
It is. It's like I'm Gulliver and Gulliver's Travels here holding this little thing. But they used to have like whole display cases of all these little menus from various restaurants on property back before the Disney dining plan, when they didn't need to. They needed to encourage you to try places. Anyway, this is the one for Seasons. And on the back, it says Seasons is located at the Disney Institute near downtown Disney's Marketplace. So now you're a 1994 beyond. And the Lake Buena Vista Golf Course. In tandem with the Disney Institute's spirit of trial and exploration, Seasons awakens the sleeping gourmet in all of its guests. Defined as Floridian cuisine, the menu places an emphasis on the freshest seasonal ingredients and celebrates the bounty of each season's harvest with ever-changing innovative offerings to sample. It has the hours and the number to call, 407-WDW-DINE. Inside, I just want to give you the brief peek because it's not a big menu because it's a tiny little piece of paper, but Dungeness crab cake and watermelon and fennel slaw. Florida quesadillas, these are appetizers.
Like, because Florida is so famous for its Dungeness
For
crab.
its Dungeness crab. Soup and garden specialties are a cream of cauliflower soup or a house or Caesar salad. The house salad has, what does this say? Season's own confetti vinaigrette or a blueberry dressing. I don't want either of those things on my salad. Your entrees were a cornflake crusted catfish, orange wood smoked beef tenderloin, pan fried striped bass, roasted orange blossom honey glazed chicken. I would like to eat that. An Everglade blackened halibut with butterfly merlot sauce. And if you still have room for dessert, you could get a milk chocolate pumpkin cake. Those things don't seem to go together. Banana creme brulee or Valencia orange parfait at this tiny little menu for seasons at Disney. Now, what happened to the Disney Institute? Well, as we discussed, for the first 3.5 years, they realized, families really don't want to come down and go on vacations and learn how to cook scallops. So in 2000, 4 years after it opened, a shift was made away from family enrichment programs to business professionals because they did realize, Disney already knew this, but corporations love enrichment retreats and team building and sending their people away, especially big corporations back then, to retreats to learn how to be better employees. And so the shift was made from this kind of stuff to business professionals learning the quote-unquote secrets to Disney's customer service and business culture, which was legendary by that point. And that lasted for about 3 years. And then in 2003, the main campus closed and was converted to Saratoga Springs Disney Vacation Club. There were some buildings knocked down then, and some purpose-built buildings were constructed to service a DVC resort. Some of the original buildings still remain. As I said, where we ate dinner at the Turf Club is an original building. But the Disney Institute does live on, at least in name. If you Google it, it will pop up and you can find the website, and it'll indicate that they're still running programs to teach business professionals how to use the Disney method of customer service and team building and employee whatever. So they know that that's basically they're trading on the reputation as legendary employers. And now it does not have a domestic housing, although if somebody's listening and happens to work for them and says, oh, no, we're in such and such a building, by all means, feel free. But I think now it's more of a we'll dispatch someone to your location, or we'll set up an event in a contemporary ballroom or a boardroom somewhere or something to have your visiting professionals, and we'll come in and put on a dog and pony show for them. JT probably sounds a lot like teacher in service programs and things like that. Where I get, as an HR professional, I get pitched this stuff once a week from various speakers and guys that want to come in and sell me a motivational speech to my employees.
Yeah, it's definitely. At least now in its current form, I've seen stuff on there, and there's even been different books written and things like that. Creating Magic is a book I read for a graduate course, and it was about treating customers properly, which in turn is, my demographic. I treat them like customers and providing good service and that. So they definitely have taken the concept of it and made it more, we'll say, less expensive and more profitable at the same time, because one thing I just read here is, and it hit me, this was before the digital camera age, really. So they're sitting there firing off rolls of film developed from right on site. Everything was expensive to do there, it seems like. And if I hear the term Cybex gym equipment one more time, they just touted it was like top tier, expense.
I guess it was the Peloton of its day.
Yeah, it's gyms have Cybex now, but it's just, they push the clay courts. You were getting something that was very, very top tier.
It's funny you mentioned the digital because in one of these promo articles that they wrote, one of the lines starts off, most homes today own a VCR, and the ubiquitous video camera has replaced film as a popular medium for vacation memories. Steve Schloe, managing director for television and video, formerly a Boston television producer, will help bring a professional touch to vacation videos. And talks about how they will show you how to shoot better vacation home videos. Like, I just can't imagine being like, hey, and that was the teen program, by the way. Like, can you imagine your parents being like, we're going to Disney World, you're going to learn how to shoot better videos?
It's interesting. I mean,
it totally makes sense that it didn't work.
Yeah, I remember the video. So we would get, we'd get bored. You'd call the 800 number. I'd be like 10 years old. I'd like a vacation planning video. And then you'd wait and they'd mail it to you. And then after a while, it would be the standard, vacation one. And then there'd be a break. And then they'd be Disney Institute at the end. Or they sent that separate one that was Disney Institute. And I'll never forget watching the Disney Institute one. And my dad walking in and I go, look at this thing at Disney. He goes, and he literally said he was probably like, 40 at the time. Why would we want to go on vacation and learn stuff and not have fun? And I mean,
well, and that's the whole thing. The idea of shifting it to corporate retreats and corporate education it is preferable to sitting at your desk and going to work.
Totally.
It's not preferable to, hey, we're taking the whole family to Disney World, but instead of going on, Tower of Terror and riding the Great Movie Ride, we'd much rather go over there and learn about, shaping a tree into a hippopotamus. I mean, it's just, or learning how the cultural dances of the holidays.
Well, it's interesting too. I'm reading about the these press releases and stuff, and it almost seems like they made an effort to make it not Disney. They said there was nothing Mickey Mouse, there was nothing that even connected it other than that like carrot of like, hey, one day if you want, you can go over here to the theme parks.
Yeah, it's certainly true that the course descriptions don't have any kind of that Disney hook beyond,
except the voice of Mickey Mouse guy in the video, which once again that's totally applicable. Everybody wants to do voices like
can you imagine going back to work after look what I can do now.
Nobody
we're going to conduct a whole meeting as characters.
It's something though. It's a heck of a concept, and we've seen things like this recent. I'm telling you, this reminds me of when the Star Cruiser opened, I literally texted my sister who listens to our show. I said, this reminds me of the Disney Institute. Like, just it's not gonna last.
It's for a certain level of interest, or exactly. Is there a wide enough audience?
And what are they
to
doing
sustain
there?
Something like that?
I know we're not current, but this is the same thing. What are they doing? Oh, we're giving discounts. Oh, we're shortening the stays. Oh, we're removing meals. It's not as big as it was, and it's kind of that same thing the Institute did.
And this one kind of tracked with Eisner's waning years at the company. It was a passion project to him when he was at his apex, and he literally had the power to talk everybody and look, we're going to build this whole thing. And it was one of many just ideas that didn't work the way that he needed it to, as those last years in charge of the company kind of came to pass. And interesting, innovative, creative, it's all of those things, but it ultimately wasn't successful. And you get the sense now that any business that decides to embark on something is fulfilling a need. And it feels like reading these press releases, they convinced themselves there was a need for this without ever actually identifying, hey, there's really a market for this.
Yeah, it's definitely too unique of a thing. And then now it has me, and I'm sure our listeners would need to, they should do this too, is next time you're at Saratoga Springs, match up some old photos and see if you can find any of the remnants, because I know I'm going to get on Google Earth and roll the time back and just kind of see what's still there. I did find one more nugget here I think that's hilarious, and it shows you how specific they got, and it almost was like a wasted effort. They had a closed circuit TV station called WALT.
KLT. Walt. It's a good thing they were in California, huh?
Right.
KLT doesn't have the same ring to it.
Did anybody go to, like, not attend, but how did you ever set foot there in the day, or were you not even could you even pull up if you weren't a guest to eat there or anything?
I mean, I suppose you could probably drive in. I can't remember if it was gated, and if so, where. I don't think so.
It wouldn't be parking for anything, I don't think you could even really walk to this. I don't even know if there was any way to walk to Marketplace. There might have been a path.
You could the long way, I guess.
See, I heard, now this is interesting, that they had, the reason it was built where it was because it's like, oh, go to the Village, go to Pleasure Island, because that was hopping then for the most part. But then recently, when Disney Springs got its redo and the bridge to Saratoga, that was only built recently, so there really wasn't an easy way to get across the lake. Maybe by boat, but they're definitely, but I don't know. Quite a place.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you very much for taking us back to the Institute. I'm going to go check my local continuing ed, just see if I can do something, and maybe I'll sign up, find something to do, and I'll see if they have topiary arts.
I think this would be a great idea for once we're done the Epcot event to just have a next event where we just select programs from these course studies
and just do them. We'll bring in James Earl Jones.
We'll bring in the actual people who taught these classes. I mean, they're probably all still there in Orlando.
Yeah. If you or anybody you know,
we'll teach you how to, improve your home videos on your VCR.
Now what I would like is I'd like a couple things from How. I want a shirt with the Retro WDW logo with the Disney Institute little people inside of it. The logo.
Oh,
what was that?
Can we talk about that at the end?
What was that?
The logo.
It was like a jumping person.
Well, so I asked Hal beforehand. I said, could you, if you have expertise on this? I remember Apple's eWorld service, which was their America Online competitor, which didn't last. But it was a lot of logos in the 90s had these kind of paintbrush stroke people in them. And that's what the Disney Institute logo has. Does that have a style name, Hal, or is there a? Was it just its era?
To see if I could. Yeah, I looked up to see if I could find something, and I didn't see any kind of particular.
It was huge in the clip art era. You'd go to these clip art things in the '90s. You'd buy this CD, and it'd have everything done in that style, and all different versions of it.
It's like the AMC film guy moved out to a paintbrush stroke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, people listening will know. I mean, we'll have the logo in.
He's every T in the Institute, so there's 3 T's. There's a person, there's a head, and then there's one that has broke free in floating.
Yeah, has become a better person from his courses,
or he's jumping into the abyss and committing
He's
suicide.
jumping off the rock walls because James Earl Jones was at the top.
running to catch a bus to a theme park to enjoy his vacation.
I'm free. I got out of here. I'm gonna have fun now at Pleasure Island.
Thank God it was only a day visit. I mean, it's just. Oh, goodness
I would really like to hear that we didn't get much response, which maybe that's the telling thing. Would love to hear more people tell about their experience there, other than these press releases, because these firsthand ones are super interesting.
Yeah.
I used the promotional slide that I had gotten from a Disney set where it was a Disney Institute class, just a guy with a clipboard. And, the most 90s group you ever saw standing in front of the Spaceship Earth as he's explaining something to them about, the landscaping or whatever. And I did have somebody on Twitter reply, I think it was Mike Bounds actually said, hey, that was my first supervisor at Disney, the guy teaching that class, in this promotional slide. But, and I wonder how much of it was, not their full-time job to teach this stuff, like people who had other jobs at Disney that were like, hey, on Mondays at, from 9 to 11, you got to go do this thing to teach this class. And, I'm sure it opened with full-time employees intending to do all this stuff. But, as it doesn't quite work out, they start pulling from existing talent and just saying, hey, 2 hours a week you're going to do this.
Well, they in the video, as far as I can tell, the theme song in the video was specifically made for the video in the Disney Institute, because I Shazammed it and I had nothing come up.
100%. You know, you won't believe what you can do, JT.
We should get that to play us out of this episode.
Well, thank you, everybody. I've enjoyed this visit to the Disney Institute.
Yep.
I hope you have as well.
And I think we have an event to talk about real quick for those that might not be on our mailing list.
My birthday is next month. You're right.
Oh, that's right.
Todd.
Yes.
He's got his want list on Amazon, so you can go there and check it out. No, we are talking about Retro Magic Celebration, and that's going to be all about Epcot. So it's an Epcot 40th celebration this coming September 30th and October 1st at Disney's Yacht Club. So all the details that we know and can talk about now are released out on retromagic.org. And in fact, tickets are available and on sale. So there's a 2-day ticket available. We're going to be starting the show this time at a Saturday evening event. We're going to have about an hour and a half or so. And then we'll rest for the night, and everybody will come back Sunday, and we'll have a few hours and a lunch break and a few more hours. It's going to be fantastic. So there's a lot of details yet to iron out. I think I wanted to make sure that our listeners knew that it takes a lot to put this on, and we're going to get the details out to you as they come in and as we can release them. But all four of us here have been busy getting things out, getting the social set up, how built the new website, the ticket system's up and running. So we're ready to go, and now we've just got to confirm some other things and work out some details. So working with Disney does take a little bit of time to have them make their decisions and sign papers and send money and all that good stuff. So, but we're looking forward to it. So, Brian, you can say it more eloquently than I can. What else will they be experiencing this time around?
What our goal is here is, you know, it's a goal. You're working with people being willing to travel and all, but it's coming along nicely. But I have said it is our goal to have the biggest and best celebration of Epcot Center, the greatest assemblage of people responsible for the things you love at Epcot Center since the place opened in 1982. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's right.
Before we lose some of these folks and before they lose their willingness to travel across the country, since a lot of them are in California, we want to try and bring as many of them back as we can so that you can hear their stories and get to meet them and spend the day with like-minded people. There are hundreds of people who've already bought tickets.
Yep.
And there's room for one more. There's always room for one more. So,
we always can get a bigger room, right?
Yeah. So buy your ticket. And join us on the 30th of September and the 1st of October anniversary weekend in Orlando, Florida at the Yacht Club Convention Center.
Yeah.
And go to retromagic.net or .org.
.org, either one.
You can go to either one and find us and join us. We would love to meet you and love to have you there.
Yep.
Two of the most surprising things for me, and every time we have these events, are number one, I love. And it's exciting, but I'm always surprised how many people say it was an amazing event.
Yeah.
Afterwards, then, I'm always surprised how many people say they wish they would have come
because
they heard about it. So you don't want to be in that second one. You want to be in the first one.
And there's people that didn't get the D23, and they said that's okay because they want to come to us. So.
Yeah. And we will have some artists in residence at this event. So it's
James
possible
Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones could be there.
Yes.
It's possible Martin Scorsese could be there. It's also possible that neither of those people could be there, but you won't know if you don't buy a ticket.
And you won't believe what you can do.
And you won't believe what you can do if you get there. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
So head over to retromagic.net or retromagic.org, same site. Check it out, and I hope to see you there. Well, Brian, thank you very much again, and thanks, as always, to all of our listeners. Give us a shout-out on iTunes or wherever your favorite podcasting app is. We'll be back next month with another wonderful topic. We're not sure where we're going yet, but I'm sure it's going to be a good one, as always. So
we should probably take a class at the Disney Institute to help us decide.
That's a good
podcasting.
Idea. Maybe a class on
podcasting class. Perfect.
Who would we get? Who would we have come in for that? You know, like Ira Glass, maybe.
James Earl Jones again.
James Earl Jones. That's right. So, but thanks to all of our
Brian.
listeners.
What did I say, Brian?
Turn down your air conditioning.
You need filters. Oh my goodness! And if you are interested in any of the creative merchandise that Hal has come up with, as well as Retro Magic T-shirts and wares, head over to retro.wdw/support us. As always, any payment for us goes directly to the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society, and you can always make a donation at lbvhs.org/donate, and all your donations are tax deductible. Thanks again for listening.
lbvhistory.org.
That's correct. lbvhistory.org. I think the other one works too, but we got too many websites. But
yeah, we do.
We do. All right, consolidation. We'll have to have a institute thing on that.
Change our name to the Disney Institute.
Yeah. We'll be teaching things before we know it. But all right, everybody, have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next month. And with that, Brian, take us out.
Follow the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society on Twitter and Instagram at LBVHistory and on the web at lbvhistory.org. For all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at retrowdw.com and on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at RetroWDW. And follow our hosts, Todd McCartney, on Twitter at WDWMS, Hal Bowers on Twitter and Instagram at GoAwayGreen, JT Cougar on Twitter at LS1JT and on YouTube at Rubber City Motoring and on the web at rubbercitymotoring.com. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Brian P. Miles. Retro Disney World is the monthly podcast of the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society, a nonpartisan, nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 organization and is not affiliated in any way with the Walt Disney Corporation or any of its subsidiary or affiliated entities.
The Disney Institute.
You'll be amazed when you